what really happened between Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, and Barack Obama when Netanyahu came to visit Obama in the White House in Washington, D.C. And we find out that there was some serious disagreements behind closed doors. Netanyahu was pushing for Iran to be handled first, and Obama and some of the other politicians in America thought that that was a delaying tactic, so he didn't have to deal with the Palestinian issue. They pressed him for real peace negotiations and an end to the settlements, which they thought was the #1 priority. And, of course, the two-state solution. Netanyahu came out publicly and said, oh, yeah, I'm all for peace, and I'm willing to negotiate, which is a good thing. And he said, without preconditions, with Syria and the Palestinians. All good stuff. Now, what he did not say is, I'm in favor of a two-state solution. In fact, we now find out that behind the scenes, his aides said that Barack Obama's insistence on the two-state solution was, quote, childish and stupid. Now, that does not bode well. If that's what they think privately, that they don't want a two-state solution, well, then obviously we're not going to have peace. Because what's his answer? A one-state solution? Well, that's what we have right now. And it's not working, and it's obviously unjust, and you can't keep those people in the occupied territories as occupied people forever. And so this is a very troubling sign if Netanyahu is firmly of that mindset. And those are harsh words, childish and stupid. Now, if that's the case, then apparently that applies to almost all the American legislators. Because what Netanyahu is used to, and a lot of Israeli prime ministers in the past are used to, is they come up here, and the American president usually has to be a little bit more realistic and say, hey, look, here are the things that we can be with you on, but here are the things that we have issues with, including, as always, the settlements. Then they go to the Congress, and Congress says, whatever you like, you got it. In fact, Netanyahu did this trick before to Bill Clinton in '96 when he used to be the prime minister back then. And he went to the Republicans in Congress, and they said, oh, no, we got your back. Don't worry, the president won't be able to do anything. You don't have to be concerned about peace negotiations. You just build any settlements you like and do any damn thing you please. Now, here is what's really interesting. This time, it did not go that way. According to, I'm going to butcher this name, Yedioth Achronoth, which is apparently a Likud-oriented daily newspaper in Israel, meaning that it leans right. So they come up with this appraisal from the sources they got from the Netanyahu government. Since they lean towards his party, they might have good sources. And they have very interesting quotes here. First, they say the leaders of the two houses of Congress surprised Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday with harsh and unequivocal statements on the continuation of settlement activity in the West Bank. Jewish members of Congress were the ones who led the attack on the policy of the Netanyahu government and its forerunners. Apparently we have a new day in America, and M.J. Rosenberg writes about this on his own website, israelpolicyforum.org, and he says, look, the people leading the way here are Jewish American politicians and otherwise who are saying, you know what, we're tired of this. Tired of supporting the right-wing governments of Israel as they lead America, not just America, but more importantly for somebody who, well, equally importantly for someone who's a Jewish American, from their perspective, leading Israel down a disastrous path. They're like, look, we've tried war. It hasn't worked. So we're going to put pressure from the American side onto the Israelis to actually try peace. And that's a very important development. So now the first quote they have is from a non-Jewish politician, John Kerry, but then they're going to get to the Jewish American senators as well. First, apparently, this is again according to this newspaper in Israel, John Kerry, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said, the United States expects to receive from Israel a commitment to solve the problem of the settlements, to stop constructing in existing settlements, to remove unauthorized settlement outposts, and this is important, and to stop saying that construction is for purposes of natural growth. Now, why is that so important? Because in the past, the Israeli government would say, oh, of course, we've stopped all settlement activities, as they would continue to build settlements. And if you ask them, hey, what the hell are you doing? They say, oh, no, that's just natural growth. We already had people in there and we're doing natural growth. For a United States Senator to come out and say, I'm calling you on your BS of natural growth, man, that's really surprising. So maybe it is a new day in America. So we go on now to Senator Carl Levin of Michigan. a veteran Jewish legislator and chairman of the Senate Armed Forces Committee, as the paper describes. He apparently said to Netanyahu, the issue of settlements is a matter of principle for the administration and Congress. It must be dealt with in conjunction with addressing the Iranian threat. Other members of Congress said similar things to Netanyahu. No one took a favorable line towards Israel on this matter, with the exception of Eric Cantor, a Jewish Republican congressman from Virginia. Well, the paper said Florida, but he's actually from Virginia. So apparently outside of Eric Cantor, everybody's holding the line. We're with Obama on this, and we want to get real negotiations and real peace for Israel, not this crap you're peddling to us to avoid negotiations and a peace settlement. And finally, the paper goes on to say, a senior Israeli official who was present at the meetings defined them as a fight and a mutual arm wrestling, with Netanyahu trying to put an emphasis on the Iranian issue and the members of Congress insisting on returning to the issue of the settlements. The senior official emphasized that there was full coordination between President Obama and the members of the Democratic majority in Congress. Netanyahu discovered today how much Congress had changed, the senior official said. In 1996, Netanyahu recruited the Republican majority that existed in Congress against Clinton, the Democratic president. Today, this is impossible. Wow. If any of this reporting is true, we have a major shift in American policy, and that is to actually be even-handed and to actually push for real negotiations and a real peace settlement. And part and parcel of that is being willing to be tough with our ally Israel, as they have a right-wing government who dithers and who does not really want to engage in these talks and who clearly is not interested in a two-state solution. We're going to try to push them in that direction. Now, we'll see if that's successful or not. Just because we have that intention doesn't mean it's going to work. But it's a hell of a great thing that things have actually changed and we've got a real push towards peace here. So, and credit to all those involved in recognizing it and pushing in the right direction and saying to Netanyahu, you will not get your way in Congress anymore. Because that in the past has been the #1 problem and impediment. So that's fantastic. All right, let's see what happens. Have you seen all the TYT videos from today? Check out the Young Turks YouTube channel. Do it already.